Well, welcome. This is Hamilton County Newsmakers. I'm Perry Williams, and today I have with me Dr. Arrowood from Hamilton Heights Schools and Peggy Jackson from Hamilton Heights Schools. So we're going to learn all about what's going on in Hamilton Heights. Ironic thing, last week's guests were our town Cicero, so I had Shay and Sue Baker on here from last week. So now we're having Hamilton High Schools, so people are getting used to what's going on in northern Hamilton County, because that's where it's at, right,
Absolutely.
Dr. Irwin?
That's where all the fun is.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready. We're getting ready to kick off school here. It's here whether you're ready or not, right?
This is one of my favorite times of the year. Our school students show up next Tuesday on August the 9th. Our teachers show up on Monday, August 8th. They've been in all summer working hard, doing great things, getting our buildings ready. We had our custodial staff out today and rewarded them with a trip to the Pizza Shack in Tipton for all their hard work getting our buildings ready. Peggy Jackson, our associate superintendent, has been leading that crew and making sure our building's ready to go. We've had some construction going on in our facilities this summer, especially outside, with some parking challenges and some driveway challenges that we're trying to improve upon, and working really hard on a new soccer outdoor facility, a building that we've put up that is beautiful and serves as a concession stand and a restroom, and really trying to enhance that facility as well. So we start off on Friday with a prayer breakfast. Sponsored by the Tri-Town Ministerial Association. We'll have a speaker. We start that at 7 a.m. The community is invited. I know a lot of people that go to the Noblesville Mayor's Prayer Breakfast come as well. And we'd love to see them there. From 7 to 7:30 at our primary school, we'll have our a breakfast, and that's paid for by the Ministerial Association. And from 7:30 to 8:30, our Ministerial Association will lead a program. We'll have a speaker. We also have students from our Love Is Club that pray for our staff and our students and our administration. Some of our administrators will pray. Our community members will pray. Some of the Ministerial Association will pray, and it's the best way to start a school year. And we kick it off that way, and then at 10 o'clock on Friday, we load all of our new teachers. We have 13 new teachers, and we load them into a yellow school bus. I don't like to brag, but I often do, that I'm the only county superintendent with their bus driver's license. And
That's something to be proud of.
That is something that I'm not sure Joe Arrowwood's proud of that, but I am. And we'll put them on the bus. And Matt Wallace, who's also our technology director and is somewhat of a northern Hamilton County historian, will put that bunch on the bus, and Matt will take the microphone and I'll take the steering wheel, and we will drive those new teachers all over White River and Jackson Township. We want our new teachers who are the first time in Hamilton Heights to understand what our community looks like and see the socio-economic diversity we have in our community, the different types. We want to make sure they see Bex and the outstanding things and the magnificent that is Bex Hybrids, the largest family-owned seed company in the world, and we want them to see Robert Settlement, the first black settlement in this part of the state. We want them to see Cicero and the different kind of housing in Cicero, and we take them out to Strawtown and show them Katiwi County's Park, and then we take them into Atlanta and end up in Arcadia, and it's a great day. I really encourage any of our staff members that are around to get on the bus and enjoy Matt's stories and about northern Hamilton County history, and it's a great way to start the year. But looking forward to the prayer breakfast, looking forward to teachers coming back on Monday, and what we do is teach kids, and so we're excited when the kids come back. It's my favorite time of year. I'm not sure everybody enjoys it as much as I do, but it is a great time of year. It's a great time to be a Husky.
You know, and the one thing about it, you made the comment, Katiwi is unbelievable. I keep telling Al Patterson it's the best kept secret in Hamilton County, but he keeps telling me he doesn't want it to be a secret because he's got a lot of great things going on out there. And I was out there and spent some time with him a week ago Monday, getting a history lesson on those historical bridges that they put over White River. So you need to take them down in the campground and see those historical bridges. They have them in place down there over White River, and they have some great ideas that they're going to do down there at the campgrounds, and that's a wonderful campground.
Well, and it's Matt Wallace's lesson, and when he takes us into Strawtown, even goes beyond the county park. I mean, he'll talk about Chief Straw, and he'll talk about why there is a Strawtown, and that he'll talk about the myth that at one point that was actually talk of that being the state capital.
Absolutely.
So it's a neat history lesson. I always learn something on that, but that's a part of our community that we really want to connect. And Peggy has been an active part of working with the county parks and on the federal and state level, connecting Katiwi to Cicero. And some of you talked last week to Shay and the neat things that are happening in Cicero. So, someday we'd hope to have a county parks or county walking trail system that connected Potter's Bridge to Katiwi, and Katiwi is connected to Cicero, and Cicero is connected to Arcadia and to Atlanta. One of the things we know about any community is that one of the primary reasons people move into a community is outstanding school systems. And I've said publicly that we live in Hamilton County, which is the home of 6 of the premier school corporations in the state, and by any measure. And we recognize that that's an important part of our community, and Hamilton Heights School Corporation is the focus of the community, and we want to do great things for our kids. But we also know that people move in communities because they want extra things like a trail system or recreational opportunities like what Katiwi is being able to provide with the zip lines and the potential for the toboggan run and the reservoir they're talking about putting in there, and the camping opportunities
and the horse arena they just built,
and that's already a destination place for the for folks who like to take their trailers out there and ride horses. But we have the lake, we have that opportunity as well. So it's really neat things are happening. We actually, Peggy and I, met with the Cicero Town Board last night and shared some where we think our future facility-wise is going, and had a great conversation with them. And we've met actually with Cicero's Town Board and Arcadia's Town Board and Atlanta's Town Board, and trying to connect those communities to make sure that we're all on the same page, because we are 3 small communities that are doing great things for all the students in Jackson Township and Wright River Township.
Yeah, and the one thing about it, and the new teachers will learn on the tour, there's a lot of great history in Arcadia and Atlanta too that they don't know about, and the Roberts farm out there, that's outstanding. And just a couple of weeks ago, I guess they had a big open house out there. Sure. So those are some great things that we have going on in northern Hamilton County. Like you said, they're people need to know about it. Right. Talking about you were taking your new teachers around there. Your new teachers, I'm sure you're very high on, but you have some wonderful teachers that are coming back this year and have done a great job. Because, like you said, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. So, I want to talk.
Well, I often share that we are a school corporation that provides technology devices for every kid in our school corporation. So, for every kid, kindergarten through 12th grade, they will have a technology device in their hands. At the primary school and at the elementary school, their iPads or iPad minis. At the middle school, their iPads. Those middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, they take those devices home. At the high school, we're using MacBooks this year, and every student will take those home. But the most important tool I can put in front of a group of students is not technology. It's not something that's wireless. It's not something that you plug into the wall. It is the teachers. And Hamilton Heights has traditionally been blessed with phenomenal teachers, going back to the teachers that I had, Mike Jenkins and Stan Renner and all those great teachers, and the teachers that we have now are outstanding. Marianne Collar was our Teacher of the Year for the school corporation last year, but she had some really great candidates at the high school and the middle school and the primary school level that she was competing against, and it was hard for our committee to make that decision because we have so many great teachers. And as we hire new teachers, we also, because of Peggy's leadership on the finance side, we are a school that's healthy financially. Every school in Indiana would like to have more money, but we've done a great job of managing our money. But because of that, we try to offer a very competitive salary schedule, and we also try to make sure that our principals know that their number one priority is to hire the best teacher available. And sometimes that means somebody that's just done student teaching, and we've hired a couple of those this year. And sometimes that's attracting teachers from other school corporations to come in and work with us and bring the experiences that they've had. We've hired teachers from Noblesville, from Lawrence Township, from Westfield, and from other places that have come in and brought that experience. Now, a lot of times there's a connection. Typically, they may have a connection to the community. They may live there or things like that, or family that's been there. But it's a great opportunity for us because of our financial stability to be able to do that. And we're really blessed to have leadership like Peggy's. Historically, not just in Peggy's position as the former CFO of our school corporation and now as associate superintendent, but the board's going all the way back to Mr. Beck, who was on our board in the 90s that built our high school, and the Schulenberg family and all those folks that spent so much time on our board that really contributed to making Hamilton Heights what it is today.
And I think one of the great things is those people like the Becks and are still involved in the school system, even though they're not serving on the board. They are realize how important it is, and in the case with the Becks, they have to the technology and all those type things that have come along in the last 10 or 15 years. They have to bring in some very, very good people, and they have to have some place to live.
Well, they're a wonderful
and
community.
get their kids to educate.
They're a wonderful community partner for us, not only for student employment. Nate Arrowood, my son that's going to be a senior this year, spent a lot of time walking cornfields this summer and working for Becks, but a lot of our families, parents work for Becks. And I think Becks, I think the last number I heard is they have 12 folks out there with PhDs that are working in their science department. I mean, that's an unbelievably sophisticated program, and those people that get a chance to drive by that, you can see the class and the culture that Mr. Beck has built and the Beck family has built just by looking at their facilities and how well kept they are. And it's really a model for us as a school corporation. How can we model the Beck's culture to make sure that we're treating our facilities the same way that Mr. Beck and before him Francis Beck and now Scott treat the Beck's facilities. So they're great role models for us. And in this on Friday nights this fall, you'll see a Beck flying around on our defensive backfield too, and doing really good things there too. So the Beck family is not only engaged in how they support our schools, they are a part of our schools, and we're really blessed to have them there.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's a lot of good things going on up in that area, and you're developing some fine students that are coming out, and like you said, I think you have from the time I spent up there, you also have a high percentage of teachers that went to school at Hamilton Heights and have come back. Okay.
Well, three great examples are Jared Mason's our high school principal. Jared spent several years working in the Frankfurt school system, student taught at Carmel, did some really neat things there, and was gone and came back because Jared wanted to raise his family as Huskies. And he's got a daughter that's a freshman that'll be a great kid, great student, also a good athlete. He's got two elementary boys that are really good kids and great students, straight A kids that do great things. Julie Griffey is our elementary school principal. Julie's all three of her kids. Amy just graduated and is going to IU Amy won't like that. It's Purdue, Amy. I know it's Purdue, but Amy's good. She also had a full ride offer to IU academically, but she chose to go to Purdue on an academic scholarship and is doing great things. Sydney is Julie and Matt's middle daughter, and she's going to be. You'll see her playing volleyball this fall and really good basketball in the spring. And Matt and Julie's youngest son Guy is great kid to be a seventh grader, and he'll be doing great things in the classroom and on the field. But those are two examples of folks. And Julie was in the Noblesville school system for 20 years as a teacher, as an instructional coach, and as an assistant principal. And she chose to come back and serve the community where her kids live and where she grew up, and to do great things. And I'm an example as well. I'm a Hamilton Heights graduate. I left for almost 30 years teaching in Noblesville and working in Rushville and Connorsville and Sheridan as superintendent and Lafayette as a principal. And so the opportunity to come back and serve where we came from, it's kind of a Kenny Chesney song. It's who we are and what makes us, but we also want to create those opportunities for the students that we have in our buildings now.
Sounds great. Well, Peggy, he's not too shy about speaking about how great Hamilton Heights is, and he does a great job up there. And his dad and I are very, very close, and so we talk quite often about the job up there. It's being done by Dr. Arrowood, and of course Tony Cook's one of my lifelong friends, so I know Tony well. So. But let's talk about, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of things going on, but let's talk a little bit about Project Vision, and also a little bit about, you kind of stemmed off the reconfiguration study and all that. Right. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it's a very interesting topic, that what you guys are looking at, and really digging down deep with numbers and with statistics on where Hamilton Heights School may be 20 years from now, not 5 years from now, but 20 years, which Dr. Arrowood always says, in small schools, you got to look out that 20 years and see where you're going to be, and I think you guys have done a very good job. So let's talk a little bit about that and bring us up to speed a little bit, what Project Vision is and when it started.
Well, I'm very fortunate to lead Project Vision. It started in 2012, and we had a lot of people involved, teachers, administrators, community members, board members. And the question that we asked the committee was, what should our buildings look like in the year 2023 and beyond. So we knew that all of our facilities, especially the middle school, needed upgraded. And so with that, this committee came up with some really eye-opening projects, and we have a manual. Well, this is very thick document that we were able to provide this to our school board to say, okay, here's what the committee sees, and they were able to then start prioritizing projects. So we knew that what we wanted to do is keep the tax rate flat. We didn't want to increase taxes with the projects. And so as we retired old debt, we've been able to bring in projects. And we got to a point with Project Vision where we had upgraded the high school media center. We'd upgraded the science labs, the cafeteria, put in some chillers and some minor projects. But really, we knew that the middle school needed a lot of attention. And what we had seen is, over time, is just a real unstable population. If you look back to prior to 92, 93, we were at like 2,200. We went up to almost 2,400. Now we're back down to 2,200. And that was a concern of, we already knew we had about 30% too much space, not too much space, but space that are we going to grow into it? Because our focus is really our staff and staff that directly affect our kids, and attracting highly qualified teachers, keeping highly qualified teachers. With the amount of new funding that's been available for schools, it's very difficult, as Dr. Arrowood talked about, a funding scale, a model that is competitive. And so we wanted to focus as much money towards the teacher salary as we can. So, and also to have money available for instructional programs, because it impacts the kids the most. So instead of heating and cooling space that we don't need, do we need to remodel the space? Are we going to need it or are we not? And so in 2013, we hired Dr. Jerome McKibben. He's he's a demographer, worked for the state, very nationally known, very well known in Hamilton County, but throughout the state of Indiana. And he did a 10-year population study for us. And what the population study showed is that we would lose 241 students over that 10-year period. That really is pretty eye-opening when you're at 2,250 kids.
Absolutely.
And you're going to drop that much. All of our money goes is driven by, with the state, the per student count. And so that equated to about 10% lost of our general fund revenue. And I talked about, all of the funds, but the general fund is really what we protect because it's what is the basis for instruction. It's everything we do in the classroom. And so if there was a way to modify our buildings, and if we don't need the space, reduce some of our cost, we would be able to put it towards instruction. And so that's where our grade reconfiguration rolled out from that, and to look at 4 different scenarios. And so we were looking at our current scenario at Hamilton Heights, the primary school being pre-K 2, elementary 3 through 5, middle school 6 through 8, and then the high school 9 through 12. We also looked at moving the 6th graders to the elementary school and moving the 7th and 8th graders to the high school. That was another scenario. The 3rd scenario we looked at was turning the primary school into a pre-K through 5 building. The elementary would become the new middle school, 6 through 8, and the high school would stay 9 through 12. And then the 4th scenario we looked at was, and this really came about from a couple of things initially, was to look at the square footage we have and how it's best allocated. So we looked at pre-K through 4 at the primary school, 5 through 8 at the elementary, which would be the new middle school, and then the high school being 9 through 12. We vetted that through the board and through the administrative team. And our focus, and Dr. Arrowood has always, this has been the highest focus, is our academics are not going to change. Every program we have now, we had to make sure that all 4 of these scenarios had space for those programs. And the administrative team looked at each scenario in depth, and they chose, they felt like scenario 4 was the best option academically. We also, from a financial side, felt that scenario 4 was the best option financially, not because the cost of that is less, it may be a little more, but because it actually saves our operational costs ongoing pretty significantly. So it brings back money to the general fund. So in March, we recommended to the board that we would continue to investigate two options, our current grade configuration and scenario 4. So we've been doing that since May, and through the process we've realized there's a lot more information that we wanted to gain and provide to the board. So the first thing that we did, we've been talking a lot about square footage per student. So the national median square footage per student is significantly lower than ours, almost 100 square feet per student. So when we looked at that, we felt like we probably needed to get a little more in-depth data. So the architects put together a scenario that shows, with scenario 1, what's our capacity in each 4 buildings. Scenario 4, what's the capacity in each building, high, low, and high. So we provided that to the board last month. The next thing that we did was we looked at a new population study. We were seeing our transfer students increase. Our transfers in 2013 were 80 students, and they'd gone up every year. And so we enlisted the help of Dr. McKibben again, and he presented a new population study that showed that over the new 10-year period, so from 2016 through 2026, Hamilton Heights would actually, we would actually gain 45 students, but that's with transfers going up 139 students more than we have. So overall, we would have still lost students, but with the transfers, we're projecting that that will go up. We also did the what if. You know, you hear a lot of things about, well, there's going to be a new housing addition. We wanted to be able to know what's an impact of 350 homes in a 100,000 to 250,000 price range. What's the impact of 80 homes in a 250 to 350,000 price range? And we came up with the numbers that would be, that students would be generated from that. And we made sure that with each of those 3 scenarios, it would fit into either the grade reconfiguration that we're in or the new one, scenario 4. So at this point, we've also looked at, what if we tear down the part of the middle school, because what would be kept would be the gyms at the middle school, the West Gym, East Gym, band choir, the athletic area, office area, and the guidance area. And so we've looked at the difference between remodeling the entire building, it's a little over $18 million, or building 2 sections back on that facility, or building 3 sections back on that facility. And actually the remodeling of the existing building is the most expensive option. And so we feel like that even if 10 years down the road we're at the same population, we've got the capacity for that, but we also will have options to grow. And if there's 10 new housing additions in Hamilton Heights, we'll be able to continue to use that building in the future. So right now, we've had also our Little Huskies Learning Center. We've had staff from cafeteria, from special ed, athletics, performing arts. All of those departments have looked at both scenarios and brought recommendations back to the board of what choice that they would feel most positive about. And pretty significantly across the board, with some recommendations of a couple things we'd want to consider, scenario 4, with being the 3 buildings, was the preference. And of course, for the community, the important thing to know is we're not, right now the middle school partially would stay there. I think everybody's very, very attached to the building in one way or another with the gyms. Yeah, and I can understand that. And so the other thing it's very important to know is the taxes will not increase. All of the debt from the projects that we do will be phased in, over time based on as we retire old debt. And I think the really neat thing that we're doing is we're trying to put as much money into the classroom for kids as we can.
And that's what's important.
Right. And the projects, some of the spaces we've done are phenomenal. I mean, and I really feel like, there's a possibility that the technology, the the space and the revisions to what we're doing has probably helped to encourage some people to want to come to Hamilton Heights, maybe that don't live in our district. Obviously, with our numbers going up, for transfers, we're doing something right. So
Yeah. One of the comments of an outsider looking in, knowing the makeup out there, you have a couple of advantages. Number one is the location of all your schools are really kind of in a row right there.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it seems like it's a long way away, the middle school is not. I mean, it's not that far away. I mean,
No.
when you're traveling 19 and going that way, but there's a street there that can cut right through, and I know you have some ideas to connect all those schools to on busing
Well-
sides and all those type things. So those are all great things that really align you to be able to do some of the things you're trying to do. And the other thing too, and this is a compliment to you people at Hamilton Heights. Hamilton Heights school system is the only school system that doesn't have a referendum. Okay, and knock on wood, hopefully you never will have to, but it may happen because that's what schools do today. But when you've been good stewards of your money, you can take a look at these type of projects, and it fits that school system very well up there, where it may not fit in other schools, but it does work very, very well up there. And we know that in referendum, I know here in Noblesville, and I know that in other communities around here that'll be passing referendums. I mean, it seems like once you get in that hole, it's almost impossible to get out of.
Well,
The way the educational system is set up in Indiana right now.
Well, and three quick comments. Number one, we don't consider you an outsider since your grandkids go to Hamilton
That's
Heights.
true. That's true.
Number two, it is really important for us in our communities to continue to have as much of a presence in Arcadia as we can. Arcadia is a vital component to our three-town structure, and we would love to be able to still have events in that town in the evenings, whether it's middle school or high school. And we also think that there's a possibility with tearing down the middle school but keeping those gym spaces, that we can make that a community partnership that we could use for other folks that want to use those gyms. And then in terms of referendums, we are blessed that we have never had a referendum in Hamilton Heights, and a lot of that is due to the leadership of Peggy and Mr. Cook and our previous school boards. However, I do have to, full disclosure, I'm responsible for one of those referendums in Sheridan when I served as superintendent.
I would
there.
have mentioned that.
Yeah,
but-
well, somebody watching would. And the challenge in public education in Indiana is that in Hamilton County, Hamilton Heights, for example, is 310th in the state in school funding. Every school in Hamilton County, other than Sheridan, is less, and Sheridan is 290th. So when you look at the disparity in funding per student in education, it is a challenge for school districts in Indiana to keep up with that, especially in Hamilton County. And therefore, the tool that was given to schools was referendums. Fortunately, we haven't had to do that. Fortunately, we think long-term we won't have to do that. But you knocked on wood, and we also as well, we want to make sure that there's the potential that may happen in Hamilton Heights. We don't want it to. We hope not. We know that with this facility process, and specifically Project Vision and reconfiguration, we can do what we want to do and generate the amount of funding we need without raising the tax rate. And that's also a credit to Hamilton Heights because of the long-term planning that went in with our building facilities. We also haven't had the challenges of exponential growth. Hamilton Southeastern at one point was growing a Sheridan a year. I mean, they were growing over 1,000 students a year. When you grow 1,000 students a year, you got to have some place to put them. Noblesville and Westfield clearly had the same challenges. Carmel to a degree as well. And so those create opportunities for referendums because it takes money to build buildings. And so we're very fortunate to be where we are. We're very fortunate to be who we are at Hamilton Heights, and we're very proud of what we get done with our students.
Absolutely. And the one thing about it, I have to give you both compliments, and I know that you're both been trained well from Dr. Cook and everything on this. Being the people person that Tony is, taking this back to the people in the community. And there's no secrets about what you're trying to accomplish, and getting the input from the people. And I've always learned if you have the buy-in from the community, it's going to be a lot easier to make it work.
Yeah, one of the things that I think would be a great resource for the community to know is on our website under Project Vision. So under the district and then Project Vision, they can see the whole presentation that we do, Dr. Arrowood's videos, the population study, all the projects we've done. There's probably 20 resources available to let people know what we're doing. And
And to your point, we presented last night in Cicero at their town board meeting. We had another meeting at Red Bridge Park. We went at Walnut Grove Community Center. We were at the Atlanta town board meeting. We met in Arcadia at various locations to present this information. Our goal from the beginning, when the board approved the two options, the keeping it as it is now or moving to 3 buildings with the gym space continuing at the middle school, was to make sure everybody in White River Township and Jackson Township understood what reconfiguration is, why we were doing it, and what it would cost. And we feel like we've offered the opportunity. We had we sent a mailer to everybody in our community a couple weeks ago in Jackson Township and White River Township. We had 60 plus people at that meeting last week at the high school sharing the information. Lots of people hadn't been there before. And I tweeted out a picture that said, this is what community engagement looks like. People ask me what's the best thing about being superintendent of Hamilton Heights. I've never worked any place that's communities is more centered and more focused on their school corporation. And I ask me, what's the hardest thing about Hamilton Heights? I've never worked any place where the school corporation is such a focus of the community. So when we make success, our community is very proud of that. But when we swing and miss and have our failures, our community also holds us accountable and expects great things from our school. And our students are our product, and they're evidence that we're doing great things. But as good as we are, we're going to keep working on getting better.
Absolutely. Well, we ran a little long today, and I did that on purpose because I knew this was going to be a very interesting topic, and I appreciate both of you. I know school's getting ready to start, and you've got a lot of things to do, but we appreciate you coming on here and explaining some of the things that are going on in that northern part of Hamilton County. And if there's any way Hamilton County TV can help you guys in getting the information out, we'd be glad to do this, because I think this is a very good cause, and I happen to feel, even being a person that grew up in Noblesville and went through the Noblesville schools, that Hamilton Heights is a good place to get an education, and we want to help Hamilton County people any way we can. So I thank you both for being on today.
Thank you.
I guess we need to wrap this up. I may have went a minute or so over. So this is Perry Williams, and I'll see you next week.